So I'm going to talk about a little bit of my health journey and how beans ended up being the actual solution that completely cured my symptoms of IBD. My hair looks crazy. I was just in my son's baseball game and it was pouring the whole time. But anyways, I was seeing an energy healer who is also a nutritionist um, around like 6 years back. So she would do energy healing. She was very talented at that. She was also intuitive. And I also did Reiki on top of that. And it was all very helpful. And what I personally did, so I went through a nutrition program, which she taught me. Like she went through like a whole program and taught me and educated me on nutrition, which was really helpful. So I pretty much cut out like everything that was bad for me. I was eating really healthfully. I was like cutting out sugar, everything, like bad fats. I was eating like to a T, like a very good for you diet, adding new things, trying new things that she was telling me to try. And I took out dairy. I also took out gluten, which is that is unique to my journey. Not everyone needs to do that. I am very sensitive to it. Some people aren't. It just depends on who you are. And I have another video about why so many people are sensitive to gluten, but I had to take it out and I tried to put it back in a million times. It's not happening. My body hates it. It's so inflammatory to me. Anyways, I got to a place where I was eating really well. And I was adding in beans because I did hear that they were helpful. I did at least get some of that part. I was exercising. I had a really good fitness program I was doing. I was the fittest I've ever been in my life. Like this was when I got really into fitness. I'd never been into fitness. I mean, it was always like kind of here and there into fitness, but I was never like seriously into fitness like I was. Best shape of my life at the time. I had also quit my job a little before that because I had recently had a baby. This all kind of came to a head at one point where I finally was like, I am going to get better. I quit my job to become a stay-at-home mom because I just couldn't do it. It was my third child. And I just it wasn't working anymore. So I was decided that my husband and I were going to try to make it work under one salary. So that was like kind of like the domino effect. That was like the first thing. I was really sick. Like if you look back at my other videos, I was so sick with IBD. I was also on tons of Imodium daily, or every other day. I was taking massive amounts of it. I was so sick. It was the only thing that I could function. And so I said, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. I finally had time to focus on me because I just had a baby, so of course that was a lot, but at the same time I could focus more on myself because I wasn't always trying to run out the door and just like survive. I wasn't in like survival mode trying to go to work every day. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this time. And I was like in this headspace that I finally had to get together with myself, and I was like, I am going to figure out how to get better. I'm doing it now. It had been like 10 years of me being sick, and I said I'm done with it. I'm done with not being able to leave my house, go do anything. I'm done with it. I am going to figure this out right here and now. I've been given an opportunity where all I have to do is to focus on this. I don't have much more than that is distracting me from it. I'm being given this gift and this opportunity to start my wellness journey, and I sure as hell am doing it now, and I'm figuring out how to be well, and I want to be better, and I never ever want to feel like this again. So I was determined that I was going to find a solution. And doctors telling me that this was incurable was not the answer I was looking for. I was looking for a way to cure this shit. So I said, all right, I'm going to do this. So first things first, eating healthier. I did a lot of trial and error, and then I went to this nutritionist lady and energy healing, all that. That helped me a lot. I also hit a spiritual journey at the same time. This is around COVID, where everybody started coming out with all this spiritual stuff. Of course, it's COVID time too hits. It was all just, I quit my job like literally 2 weeks before COVID hit and shut everything down. I looked in the medical field and they were already like, oh yeah, shit's getting crazy here. I was like, oh, that's weird. All right, well, I quit. Anyways, nothing was not related in any way. It was just crazy looking back on how everything lined up. Like the universe was just like boom, boom, boom. These things are all, so then I got into I was watching, listening to podcasts. There was all these awesome mediumship people who were doing great stuff because it was COVID time and it was awesome, and there was just like info everywhere, and I was like so zoned into it. I was so into it. I figured out I was a medium. I had gifts. I got really into it. I started doing readings, tarot, a lot of things. And it was crazy. And then I started from the Reiki lady. She said, you really should learn how to do it on yourself. So that also helped me. I learned how to do self Reiki, and that is extremely helpful. I recommend everybody to do that, but that's a whole process. Funny, I just paused this video on 555. So I got my mind right through that. And then next thing I did, I said, all right, I'm getting myself off this Imodium. I don't want to take it anymore. I never want to take it ever again in my life. It made me so sick. It was such a diuretic. I was so dehydrated all the time. I was sick. My skin was so dry. I looked like I was going to die. I was so skinny because I was so skinny that I'm already have, a skinnier build, but I was so skeletal skinny because I couldn't keep weight on. Everything I ate, none of it was going into my body. None of the nutritional value. I was so sick. I swear I was getting no nutritional value for years to my body. I was so sick. I decided I was just I think I weaned off of it slowly because that was a huge thing. I'd been taking it for so long, like 10 years. And I had to wean off, and I had tried before, never with success. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And it took a long, long time. I don't think I could have done it unless I quit my job and had nothing other than to stay at home and just focus on it, because I couldn't leave the house for a long time. It was a struggle. It was a big struggle. I think I eventually just stopped taking it altogether. Slowly worked my way down until I didn't anymore. And then after that, I was like, that's that. If I feel sick for a day, we're just going to feel sick and we're going to go through it. And I kind of had to go through it of my stomach was super upset, couldn't leave the house, couldn't function. I don't care. I had to go through it. And finally my body found a rhythm of trying to get normal and regular again. And it was there, but it was still tons of inflammation. I was in pain, tons of intestinal inflammation. I was really sick on and off. And so I got to my healthiest through eating and all that with this lady. And I did lots and lots of classes with her, and I did so much work with her. And I got to the healthiest I ever had been, ever could possibly be. I think I ate healthier then than I do now. And she was also showing me holistic medications and stuff. I'm not really into that. But helpful, I think. She taught me about probiotics and stuff. That was really helpful. A lot of it, she said, all right, well, your body needs to heal, which was the truth. I needed that, but I didn't need it in that way. So I had found out later that was beans. So I was my healthiest eating wise ever, but I was feeling good for a few days, and then I did a flare up that would last days. And then I'd feel better again, then I'd have a flare up again. And it was and I'd go in and ask, and she'd be like, oh, I'd be like, I'm feeling really good. She's like, yeah, I'm still not sensing that you're feeling good. And I'm like, I don't know. And it was just this back and forth. And I'm like, yeah, we're not getting anywhere, I've done all the things I can do. And it went on this for a few months. And I was like, it's just not, I don't know what's happening, but maybe a year. I think a year it went on like this, where I was just and I got healthier and healthier slowly, but I'm it's still not there. I'm still having flare-ups. I'm not cured. I'm better, so much better, but I want to be 100% better. I want to be I've never had this in my entire life. I want to be acting like a completely normal person all the damn time. I don't want my life to be limited. So I had to keep searching. And, a part of it, she had me taking different types of holistic medications, I guess you'd not really, I forget what you'd call it, but holistic things, and homeopathic remedies. And none of them, she said they were healing, they were supposed to be healing, but they weren't quite, they healed me a little bit, but they weren't it. So finally I figured out the bean protocol. If you ever want to look it up, there's a couple of people who promote it, who are amazing, and they know way more information than I do on it. But, so I want to point you in those directions. But, beans, I needed a detox with high soluble fiber. Beans have the highest source of soluble fiber out there. So it was beans that actually ended up making me symptom free for life. Once I did the detox, it took like a few months. I think she said usually it's like 4 to 6 weeks. For me, I was so sick. It took me maybe like 8 to 10 weeks. I was doing it for a long time. Maybe even almost a year. Like I'd stop and then I'd feel good and then I'd have to like do it again. It took a lot of trial and error too, but like now I'm on the bean longevity plan, which I'm not really detoxing anymore. I'm just eating the beans that I need to eat every day that keep me regular and feeling amazing. I don't have flare-ups anymore. I'm not sick. I'm not limited. I can't even remember the last day, except for when I gave myself food poisoning the other day, that I was like down for the count because of my stomach, and my body. And with my IBD, and I have not had any symptoms since then. I really have not. It is amazing. So what I basically needed to do, what I was missing, I was eating really healthy. I was doing everything I needed to do. The last piece that I was missing was getting the junk. So there's junk that will circulate in your body. Hormones, toxins, it'll just keep circulating in your bile, and it just circulates and circulates, and it never leaves unless it binds to something to bring it out, and that's soluble fiber, that's beans. So that was the part I was missing. I had so much junk, toxins. This was all what was making me sick and making my IBD so bad. I just had so much over the years. I was unhealthy. I was a very unhealthy person. I had a lot going on in my 20s, and that's probably where it all came from, among some other reasons. But I was just making myself sicker and sicker. I had no way to get it out, and I didn't know anything about beans or any of that. So basically I had to detox all that out. I had to take all that junk that's been stacking up for years, and I had to get that junk out. And now it's crazy that I even think back that I used to think there were days where I'd be like, wow, I would give anything. I would give anything just to be normal. And just thinking to myself, like, I wonder if that'll ever happen to me, or if this will be my life for my entire life. And if you were to tell me back then that this is how well I was going to be someday, I wouldn't have believed it. It's crazy. I am so thankful, grateful. I have so much gratitude for the life I've been given. And it's crazy how all those things stacked up to bring me to this place today.